The Jazz traded Collin Sexton to the Hornets. They had to give a second-round pick to bring on Jusuf Nurkic. I'll talk about why it was a great move. It's the Hoops Nerd Show. All right, guys, before I get into it, remember to subscribe to the channel and like the video. All right, so Collin Sexton to the Hornets, and they had to give a second-round pick? They didn't get more? Yeah, I have to agree. It sucks that there wasn't more. But there's a few things we got to talk about. There's a few reasons for this trade, and it really shows a real vision for the future. So the main reason for this trade, I've been talking about it for the last few days with the euphoria of getting Ace Bailey. But this gives about 12 to 14 shots to the Jazz youth that weren't there last year, that honestly should have been there last year. And that's the thing. The Jazz have been trying to trade Collin Sexton for like 3 seasons. This is nothing new. And that should tell us something. There wasn't anything there. If you say, oh, the Jazz should have got more, well, from who? When you look at, I looked at the D LeBron advanced stats, and I watched that pretty closely. When you look at the last two seasons, and you look at the worst defenders in the NBA, Collin Sexton is in the bottom 5. You know who the other one is? Jordan Clarkson. Bottom 5 worst defenders in the NBA. Worst. I know Collin Sexton puts his heart out on the floor, and I love that about him, and the energy and the demeanor is amazing. But there's a reality too, and other opposing teams see that stuff too, right? They're going to use their advanced metrics. They're going to look at all these things when they look at a player. And when they see that pop up, they're like, a first-round pick for not just a negative defender, an extremely negative defender, okay? Extremely negative. Now, good offensive player, but I would argue if you watch him play, and I know you guys, the hoops nerds out there, are watching him, but if you watch every single game, you'll know that Collin Sexton at times, he's getting those 50, 40, 90 numbers when it's garbage time. I mean, honestly, sometimes Collin Sexton to me is Oscar the Grouch. That guy loves garbage. He loves garbage time. That's the time to drive to the basket. That's the time to get that open 3. That's the time to improve those numbers just a little bit. And I would say that those numbers are a little inflated. And when you play against good teams, there's a reason the Jazz have lost. And against average teams of late, that's why they lose, right? If those 50, 40, 90 numbers were so pure and true, then the Jazz would have been winning more games, if we're being honest. So the main point, number one, all of this, number one, is this clears the path for the young players. And honestly, finally, we have been having 2 sets of teams for this Utah Jazz team for too long. Too long, it's been the Collin Sexton, Jordan Clarkson, John Collins, and other vets versus the young players, Taylor Hendricks, Keontae George, Isaiah Collier, Sensabaugh, all the young players. And it's been enough. I mean, remember when they had to trade Kelly Olynyk to just get some minutes for these young players to play, Fontecchio and guys like that. And Fontecchio was technically a rookie, but he was like a 27-year-old rookie. So it's a move in the right direction for the Utah Jazz, just focusing on a very specific plan, direction, and where they need to be. It's the right move. It just is. Now, do we wish that we got more back? Absolutely. Had there been a first-round pick out there? Maybe. But here's the other thing. This was a win for Utah because they're not taking another contract back. Utah, really the value of Collin Sexton, I mean, he does put up numbers, and I think for Charlotte, he's going to get buckets, especially in a bad Eastern Conference. I think he will have some value there for 15 minutes. You put Collin Sexton on the floor, though, for more than 15 minutes, and outside of kind of a bench role, it's not a winning combo. But if he goes to the Hornets, plays 15 minutes, plays against bench units, he can provide value. He's just going to be negative on defense. That's the thing. But what this does for Utah and why this is a positive, Collin Sexton's contract was expiring. So next year it was coming off the books. And I think it's like $16 million, give or take. If I'm wrong, let me know in the comments. But it's something like that. They bring on Jusuf Nurkic, and I didn't realize, but he's an expiring contract as well. So what this tells me is that this means that the Jazz, yes, they had to give up a second-round pick, which, by the way, it's a 2030 second-round pick. It's 2030. Utah might be good by then. If the Jazz win the lottery this year, and I'll tell you why right now, I think they'll probably be pretty good back then. It's going to be even worse. It's going to be like a second-round pick, like number 50 or something like that. It's not something to lose sleep over, guys. It's really not. A lot of teams use those to just trade for cash, okay? You're not getting Jokic, okay? That's just like the 99% of these second-round picks turn into end-of-bench players at best, okay? So can we not lose some sleep over second-round picks? It's whatever. But anyways, what this does is it keeps that expiring contract on the books, so after this season, it falls off. It provides playtime for Ace Bailey, like we talked about, because Jusuf Nurkic is not going to get a lot of possessions. He's not taking a lot of shots. He may not even play. Who knows? Utah may not be done. But it's nice that they're bringing on Nurkic because of the expiring contract. Had they traded it for someone else, maybe they could have gotten something better. Like maybe you're getting some late first-round pick or something like that, but you're probably bringing on a bad contract. That's the value to the other teams, is that Sexton was an expiring deal. That's the value. So there are some teams that'd be like, yeah, we'd love to bring on Sexton. He can score some buckets for us. Here's our terrible 4-year contract. You could trade him to someone like the Chicago Bulls and get back like a Patrick Williams. But then you've got that terrible contract on your books for 3-4 seasons. What this does is that it clears your books, and it really does imply that Utah kind of plans on going for it after next season, because if they have all these contracts fall off the books, their big time players are going to be on rookie contracts. So Ace Bailey, and hopefully the Jazz win the lottery next year and come away with DeBonsa or Cam Boozer or Darren Peterson. And then guess what? If you have cap space because Jusuf Nurkic's numbers fall off, then you have money to go out there and get a free agent, a good one. Go out and spend 15, 20 million on someone who can be a really nice complement to what you have. And that's the way you build the team. Once you have your core stars and Utah is actually getting there, then you complement their skill sets with what you need. It's why you don't do these moves now, because you don't know what your team is. If your superstar is Nikola Jokic, then you're going out there and getting players that complement what he does. You're not going to go out there and get the best center available, right? If your best player is Ace Bailey on the wing and AJ DeBonsa on the wing, then maybe you look at a high-level guard, or maybe you go out and put big-time money towards like a stretch 5 or something like that. You can do that in free agency after next season. It certainly seems like that's what the Jazz want to do. Guys, this season's going to be a blast, and if we win the lottery next year, oh my gosh, you're looking at big-time moves. It's going to be fun, and this move is more of a look down the road to the future for something like that. Utah is going to go into this offseason, and they are not going to have, on top of the fact that it'll just clear shots for Ace Bailey, they will not have Collin Sexton on the team in on a contract season playing for shots. Do you guys really think that Collin Sexton, who is as aggressive and plays as hard as he can, is really not going to try to get shots when he's trying to earn a new contract? Do we really think that's what Collin Sexton would do? No. He is going to be trying to get the most shots the most shots available, and he's not worried about Ace Bailey developing, nor would any other vet. And that's the other thing with vets, guys, is everyone's like, there are people that will say, oh, we need vets to guide these youth. We need vets to do this. Well, maybe, but when you have vets in contract seasons, they are playing for their next contract. So they're not going to be happy sitting on the bench and losing out on their stats to develop Ace Bailey or Walt Clayton Jr. or Keontae George or Taylor Hendricks or whoever. They're not worried about that. They're worried about getting their next contract. So in a lot of ways, this is a solid by the Utah Jazz to put Collin Sexton on the Charlotte Hornets, where he will get minutes and get a chance to earn a new contract. He'll get to put up stats and earn more money. So in a lot of ways, we should be, if I'm Collin Sexton, I'm thankful to the Jazz because they put him in a good situation that he can earn. It's really a win-win for both sides. Utah clears cap space for next season. They don't have anything on their books from this. They send Collin Sexton to a team where he'll get minutes. He can earn another contract. It's a win-win. This is a positive for both sides. And really, if you appreciate Collin Sexton, then you should appreciate what the Jazz just did. They did a solid to Collin Sexton. It's not like when they traded Mehmet Okur on Christmas Eve, okay? This is a team that is doing things right by Collin Sexton. Honestly, as I followed this and looked at this trade and I was writing the newser, the more I liked it. The more I liked it. Look at what just happened with the Portland Trail Blazers. They tried to get value for DeAndre Ayton. These teams that are waiting too long for value, it doesn't happen. We're just seeing that more and more and more. When you have an opportunity to move the player, you got to do it. This thing where you wait too long to trade a player is not good. And the Jazz, if we're being honest, have already been burned. They've already done that to themselves. If they were going to trade Mike Conley, why did they wait till midseason? Every report was that trade with the Minnesota Timberwolves was on the table, or it was the Lakers and the Timberwolves, I believe. If I'm wrong, let me know in the details. But that trade they did was on the table all season. It was there. And they also had offers with the Pelicans that they could have done. And really, the big value that Utah had that season was their own pick. They should have done the trade sooner. And this is Austin Ainge. Yes, is it the most value you could have possibly squeezed out of that Collin Sexton orange? Probably not. But what it is just doing the right thing, making the right move. And you can't always win every trade like it's a home run. You may lose the PR battle for a day. And honestly, if people are losing sleep over second-round picks, I got to tell you, I am not losing sleep. It's not like the trade that we moved Derek Favors just to get off his contract, and they traded a first-round pick. That is the trade that was just brutal. We're still dealing with that trade. Horrible trade. Not this. This is nothing. This will not affect anything. Is anyone in the year 2030 going to be like, well, I sure wish we had the 53rd pick in this draft. You know, we could have gotten some guy on it. You know, it's just like not going to happen. I'm sorry. No one's going to remember this come 2030. This is not a first round pick. This has no real long lasting value of any sort. I mean, maybe the Hornets turn it into something, but I have my doubts, you know. If anything, like we look at what was done during this last draft, maybe they'll combine it to get to somewhere in the 40s and 50s. That's like best case scenario, okay? So we're not losing sleep over this pick. Okay, so two more things, and I thought these were subtle, and if the Jazz are planning this, I think it's pretty darn interesting. But one, this helps Charlotte win more games, while also helping the Jazz maybe lose one or so games next year. I don't think it hurts them that much, but probably one or two maybe for Utah, right? There were games Utah rested Sexton last year, like when you're playing the Wizards, when you're playing the Hornets, when you're playing one of these bad teams, they would rest Sexton. Now they don't have to worry about it. Now he's on Charlotte. He may help them win one or two games. If the goal is to have the worst record possible while playing to win, you might have subtly just helped your chances in the standings, right? If you were deciding, hey, if I wanted to make a team better, wouldn't you want it to be the Charlotte Hornets or someone like that, the Washington Wizards, teams that are going to be at the bottom, kind of like Utah? It's a smart move to do. And I think the real interesting thing about this trade, too, is does this mean something for Walker Kessler? Maybe, maybe not. But I don't think that it will mean that I don't think that Walker Kessler is safe. Now, maybe he is. We've heard reports that he is. But there are things and reports out there we've heard. Utah has a new president of basketball operations, and he has two players he's added. Clayton, Bailey. And those are the only two untradeable players on this roster as constructed. That's a report. So it doesn't mean the Jazz are going to do anything with Kessler, but it is interesting. If Utah wanted to do something else, I mean, one thing about Nurkic is he's not very good, but he does play stretch. He can shoot the three, and maybe Utah wants to do that eventually. Maybe they want to get their players playing in that type of system, something that Kessler can't do. So if Utah was trading Kessler and was able to get something back for him, maybe the Phoenix Suns might be interested. You guys know that I love Malawach. I love Malawach. And maybe the Phoenix Suns would be like, hey, we'll take this young center off your hands and send you a potential stretch five in Malawach, and he grows together. I personally would love that. Something to think about. Maybe they don't trade him at all. Maybe they do. Let me know what you think in the comments. Guys, let's give a shout out to the All-Stars tonight. Let's give a shout out to Baby Elliott Madsen, Ryan Edward Perry, the legend, Christian House Money to Haas, Robert Hall of Fame, Cam Bam, thank you, ma'am, Cam Chin 3, I Believe in Steve Jazz Exile, see ya, Lexa Later, Jordan the Goat, Best Roll, Austin R. Grant Editor Extraordinaire, KG10 to TH5, WC to AB, and Patrick Akubo, the Connoisseur. Guys, like and subscribe to the channel. I will talk to you next time.